Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you all to Crow Canyon's webinar on managing assets and equipment in SharePoint. We're happy that you could join us today. First, as we start off, I want to go through some housekeeping details. If any of you are unable to see the screen, the GoToWebinar screen, or you're experiencing technical difficulties, on the right-hand side in the control panel, there is a chat feature, and so you can simply let us know that you're having some challenges, and we'll try to resolve those during the webinar. Also, if you have any questions during the presentation, please use the questions feature, also at the right-hand side of the screen. And we'll have some time allocated towards the end of this presentation to go through some Q&A. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce ourselves to you. My name is Jeff Priest. My colleague Scott Restivo and I will be leading this discussion today. Scott has been involved in SharePoint since its debut. He has a deep understanding of developing on the platform and helping organizations to leverage SharePoint as a platform for business applications. Go ahead and we'll set the agenda here and talk about some of the topics we'll cover. First, we'll do an introduction of Crow Canyon, talk about business applications on SharePoint, as also as why SharePoint for asset and equipment management, which is really going to be the guts of the webinar and the content today. We'll talk about how SharePoint can be used for asset and equipment management, and then we'll jump into some Q&A. So Crow Canyon's been in business since 1999. We're located in California. With the release of SharePoint, we've focused our business on building applications on the platform. We offer products. We have a custom development practice, and we have professional services and consulting services as well. Today we're proud to service thousands of customers worldwide, and we've helped them to leverage SharePoint as a platform for business applications. So SharePoint out of the box has a lot of potential. SharePoint can be a platform that provides business applications across the organization. Crow Canyon's developed a catalog of applications that can provide immediate benefits out of the box, but we have also built these applications so they can be integrated with each other as well as integrate with other corporate systems. We have systems today that from IT help desk to purchase request, facilities management, asset management, HR request systems, contract management. There's a number of systems that we built that can be standalone, but also there's a level of integration between these applications.
Jeff, someone's saying they can't hear anything. That's one person. I hope others can.
Please, if there's anybody else out there that can't hear, please let us know.
Well, maybe if they can hear.
Yeah, or if you can hear, please let us know as well. That would be fantastic. Okay, so we have some.
Others are reporting they can. Okay, good. All right, okay. All right, good. We resolved it. Sorry. Go ahead, Jeff. Sorry to interrupt, but I want to make sure everyone can hear the webinar.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. All right. So as we, in terms of Crow Canyon and what we do today, that we've built these applications on SharePoint. We have done it for a particular reason. We think that SharePoint is a powerful application that provides a collaborative environment. It's very flexible. There's also this level of integration that can be done as we build applications, and these applications might sit in separate sites, have their own lists, own document libraries, and we have the ability to connect those through a group of components or web parts that we've built and added to our systems to provide an enhanced functionality within SharePoint. There's the idea also of Active Directory integration. There's integration with other systems. There's the no-code configuration. No-code seems to be the big buzz these days amongst our SharePoint friends. It's easy to customize. It's browser-based. It's something that the end users, if you use SharePoint, depending on how you use SharePoint today, it's something they're familiar with as well. Now, today we want to cast a wide net to include a couple of, in terms of the idea, the webcast is really about assets and equipment tracking. So the tool that we have today can be leveraged for IT assets. It could be equipment on the facility side. There could be inventory tracking. There could be other types of equipment within your organization that you want to track. Today we'll use our IT assets application and demo simply because it's a great place for us to start. But hopefully, any of you out there that are have a requirement outside of IT assets, you'll see also how there's an application. We'd be happy to set up a discussion with you after to talk more specifically about equipment. Now, there are unique business needs for each type of asset or equipment tracking, and we'll talk about the flexibility of how we can configure this system to meet your specific business needs. I would now like to turn the time over to Scott, and Scott's going to dive right into the thing that you're most interested in today, and that's showing you what we built, how it functions, how you can manage in a robust environment IT assets and or equipment. So Scott, we'll go ahead and I will give you control and turn the time over to you.
Okay, sounds good. Show my screen. Okay, looks like I transferred over to my screen. Thank you, Jeff. As Jeff mentioned, we'll be covering IT assets and equipment. First thing we wanted to do is just put up a poll, if you don't mind answering, take a few maybe 15 to 30 seconds to go through that. So I'll launch that. It's just asking what are you currently using for asset or equipment tracking, and if you don't mind taking a moment or two to respond, and then we'll go from there. Okay, I think we'll close that. That's been up for about 30, 40 seconds there, so that's probably enough time to, I'll give another few seconds here, but I think we're good with that. Oh, closed. Okay, we'll close it. Good. So let's show the poll results. And as you can see, there are sounds like anyone's using SharePoint in this webinar. There's some percentage of people, 21, are not tracking, and other people are using a spreadsheet. That's kind of commonly the case we run into, is that there seems to be a spread of people who are not tracking the assets or equipment very much at all, or using spreadsheets and finding them inadequate. And then there's some who are doing it more with a system already. So okay, so let's go start the presentation then. Sharing, let's see, hide poll results. Okay. All right, so now my screen is up. Is that right, Jeff? Can you confirm that you can see my screen?
I can see your screen, Scott.
Okay, excellent. Good, thank you. Again, welcome everyone to this, and we'll go right into the application and show what's going on here. We have this asset management program inside of SharePoint 2010, SharePoint 2013, and Office 365. What I'm showing right now is 2013 with a bit of UI branding and configuration going on here to that we put on the 2013 version. We also have versions that have a more basic stripped down SharePoint look and feel if people prefer that for some reason. The asset program can stand by itself as a full-fledged asset management program. It can be used for IT assets. We also have a version that's used for equipment. As Jeff mentioned, quite a variety of equipment can be tracked in it. Just about anything really. It could be vehicles, machinery, tools, furniture, supplies. I mean, just the range is pretty wide, but in this case, we're going to focus on IT assets for this demo. And what we always do is encourage people to, talk to us about what your equipment and asset and equipment tracking needs are, because everybody has very specific requirements, and they have their particular arrangement, their particular, whether it's one office or multiple offices, or things are leased out, or it's equipment that it has to be calibrated every so often or maintained, or whether it's IT assets. There's a whole range of possibilities. And this demo here, this webinar, will be kind of an introduction to what's possible on SharePoint to do. But we quite often are making variations of this to meet the particular needs of the customers. And it's quite an interesting thing for us to do and see how we can, extend the SharePoint or Office 365 in whatever direction it takes to make it, an effective, robust tracking system, management system for your your assets. And certainly you do want to track your assets and equipment in a way that is effective and saves, prevents loss of it, and maintain it properly, and know what break fix issues, problems, tasks have occurred about those assets and equipment. So that's what we're trying to do here. So diving right into it, this is kind of the initial interface. These are it's a workspace inside of SharePoint, so web parts are arranged on it to give information immediately to a person coming here. There could be announcements. You might want to do a search. You can search by a barcode. I'll go into that more later. What tasks are upcoming, maybe calendar. But of course, the core of the whole system is the assets list, the asset or equipment list. And this is, in this case, it's displayed in more or less the standard SharePoint list. If you know SharePoint, which I think quite a few you probably do, you come in here and you can sort this easily, filtering by all the ones in a particular office or particular vendor and like that. I won't go too much into that because that's more or less standard SharePoint. But what we do is we present the information of the asset in a form that has a way, has multiple tabs. But the point is that it's a way of displaying information in an organized way that makes it so you can take an effective and immediate view of it, and whatever action needs to be done to deal with that asset and track it and manage it. So in this case, we have different tabs. These tabs have different fields on them. These are easily configured with the tool we have for tabs and tabs permissions. It's called our Forms Manager. You could call it also. It provides a way to display what columns are here and what tabs, and the tabs can become dynamic. I'll show that in a minute, how by selecting different categories, different tabs will show up. And what fields, how they're listed here are up to you, how you want to arrange this and what information you need to see here. If you are in the edit mode of this, you can go, and now I'll show you what I mean about dynamic forms. So you see the computer tab is here. If you go to phone, that tab disappears. If you go back to computer, it appears. So you can make the form appear, different parts of it appear or disappear according to what particular kind of equipment is being tracked. If you might have multiple kinds of equipment, on some of them you want to see a certain amount of information, others you don't. So you can make that dynamic in that respect. We have the ID, the title, category, status, service, and all these drop lists are configurable in our system. We give a out-of-the-box version, with pretty common ones, but you can always change these simply by going to list settings. It's a choice field. There's make, model, serial number, barcode number, etc. Location and owner, who it's assigned to, where it's located. This is show you that there's cascading lists here. If you choose a particular office, it will have a different room. These are the rooms in the San Ramon office. These are the rooms in the Boston office. Just to show that there's a cascading lookup capability in here, whether you want to use it for office in room or office in floor or location in office. I mean, these can be used in many different ways. Also down here we have if the asset or piece of equipment is leased out to a customer, and the answer here is yes. When it means it's checked, then you'll have ability to select from different accounts and contacts, which this information can be pulled from a CRM or a customer list or wherever you keep it, in order to get that tie the asset with the customer record or the account record. Then if you're not leasing it out, you can simply uncheck that, and it will be, those fields won't show. And we try and keep it so that the only fields that are necessary are there, so that if they're not, they're not in the way or not being filled out. Of course, in these forms, as in our Forms Manager, you can decide to delete that altogether because you never lease any equipment out to customers. Or maybe you don't use floors, rooms. You might use the word terminology, buildings or facility or whatever. That's all very, very configurable in the system. So then we have history and financial information, who the vendor is, purchase price, invoices. If you want to put some depreciation and salvage information in there. We have contracts and warranties that are associated with this particular asset, support, what tasks, what tickets, change requests, what manuals, notes, if you want to put notes in about it, check in, check out, and then this is the tab that was up there for computer. So let me go back to view mode of this particular piece of equipment, and going through that a little more detail because I think that was a little quickly. So let's go through it a little more detail now that we have kind of an overview. You have, again, all these fields. If you didn't want, if you use serial number instead of barcode number, whatever, you don't have to have all those fields on there. But there are some interesting features on this form that I want to point out that make it really, really nice functionality to it. Of course, you can't miss the image right here. But right above that asset info link, what does that mean? Well, this is going to show you the record in Landsweeper. Landsweeper is a network discovery tool that goes out and queries the network, brings back a list of assets into a database, and we have a synchronization process that allows that ties the two together. So if I click this, I can actually go out now to the Landsweeper system and get all the information about this particular computer, Dell, Vostro, whatever, and then you can drill down into this in deep detail, doing remote desktop or look at the event viewer, reboot, shut down. I mean, it gives you all the functionality of Landsweeper or whatever system you happen to use if you want to do that simply by clicking it right from the record itself. And these are tied together. Now, Landsweeper is not going to give you, or any network discovery tool is not going to give you such things as location, history, finance, what support's been done on it. So that the two work very well in conjunction with each other to give you a full spectrum view of the asset and its history and its, what's on it, its capabilities, its configuration, etc. So that's one thing I want to point out. Another thing in location and owner, of course, anything, so you can click here and go to information about the office, the room. If you had the contacts on here, you could go to that also. Here in the history and finance, again, that clickability of SharePoint where you can click and get information about this vendor from the vendor record over here. In this case, total contracts. Contract is interesting because you have the contract, lease agreement, start, expiration date. Here's the link to the actual contract itself. It could be in a document library, which this is, or it could be up on a vendor site or a file share or a Dropbox or something, but it gives you a wrapper around that contract so you know when the expiration date is. Now that's not that useful unless there's an alerting capability in our program, in which there is. So you can set up an alert that says, go through the assets and find out which ones are going to expire in the next 30 days and send me an alert. So every contract is going to expire in what X number of days, say 30 days, 45 days before, you can be alerted and know that that contract's going to expire and then keep track of it. So the contract management aspect of this is very, very important to keep up to date and make sure that the renewals go on and things are under warranty. Now, below that is Dell Warranty Link. Because this is a Dell piece of equipment, we can do something interesting here and actually link to the Dell, through the Dell API, to the information about this particular piece of equipment that's kept up in the Dell server. You see it's Dell.com. So we're going to this. They allow this API where through a particular kind of query with a particular key, whatever, you're able to get the actual data from that Dell server as to what they have recorded in their database about this particular asset. So that's the kind of linkages we try and bring together documents and other databases and sources. So it isn't just a list of assets, but it's a fully integrated with other aspects of your internal systems or external systems of vendors and the such like. Now, going into the support tab, we have the task here. So tasks can be associated, maintenance tasks, like this list here, associated with each particular asset. This could be one or it could be more. It could be many of them. You could add new ones here. Now, I want to point something out here. We have what we call tasks, but there's also IT tickets and change requests. These two items here, IT tickets and change requests, refer to our IT help desk ticketing system, which is in another site over here. Now, that's not necessary to have in an asset management system, but if you are looking to do break fix or more, end user support and that kind of thing, then tying it together with a help desk system makes sense. If you're looking to maintain assets as a standalone kind of program, management program, you can use tasks, which will provide a schedule of what needs to be done to maintain that piece of equipment, who's it's assigned to, when it comes due, and also, again, the alerting function comes into place and lets you know that a task is coming up and when it's due, and you can sort and group this list according to who they're assigned to. And many things you can do with the task itself. So I just want to point out that there's the task capability as well as the connection to a help desk such as our IT help desk system, which I'll just pop over to that for a moment right here. This is our IT help desk system. So these tickets here would have an asset linked to it so that when you're doing break fix problems or maintaining it, you can see that the ticket is about a particular asset, and then get the history when you're in the asset of what tickets have been done for that particular piece of equipment. So if you did want to tie those together, you could, but you don't have to. They can be standalone or be on its own. Now, the advantage of ticketing system, I would say, is you got service level agreements and auto assignment and, I mean, it's a whole involved ticketing system, and you might not need that, so you can just use tasks instead. So you have the choice. We're trying to be very flexible in what we provide in SharePoint, and SharePoint is a great platform for this because it does have that ability to do these cross-site lookups and cross-site integration and outside databases and integration all down the line. It's quite useful and quite interesting what you can do. Now, I don't know if you're asking this, but you might be. How is this done? Well, there's a lot of web parts behind here that are making all this function. This is built, of course, there's out-of-the-box SharePoint, but there's a large number of web parts functioning behind the scenes to make this happen. Associated task, cascaded lookup, there's color indicator fields, there's a tabbing feature. I mean, a lot of things are going on behind the scenes. These are web parts and tools we've built as part of our development over the last 10 years in SharePoint to make it really into a business process, business application, rather than just kind of out of the box. You get only so much, but what you can do with it out of the box is quite interesting, quite amazing when you really get into the development side of things. So here's notes. This is our discussion column, for example, where if I added another note, it would date timestamp it with my name and then continue the chain of who said what, when, about what, whatever. So it would be a good history, like a work log of what's going on. Then in the check-in, check-out, now there's this idea in some assets or some tools or equipment where you check it out to a particular group or for a particular event or a particular person. So you want to know who it's checked out to, when it was checked out, when it's expected back in, what the check-in date is. Sometimes we add on what purpose it is for or tie it to a particular project or event. And again, that could be linked to a project or event management system where you can go there and say, oh, what's been used for that? You can get really involved in one of the points we want to make is in this demonstration here is that this is like kind of the rudiments, of it, you might say, and that we can definitely extend any of these in many different directions. For instance, the check-in, check-out can be tied to a project, event, then you go to the project, you find out what equipment's checked out on it and what the cost was and who did what when. So if, there's one case where we had they want to know all the equipment that's been checked out over the last year and what it was used for, so they can kind of look at, the history and usage of it, et cetera, et cetera. So, I mean, there's a lot you can do beyond what's just shown right here in this webinar I'm trying to point out. And then we have the history here of also, this one has never been checked out, I guess. So it's, if there is no history, but if there was, you would have a running history of all the times it's been checked out and checked back in, or if it's out, when it's due back in, who used it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's quite a number of capabilities in the asset form itself. Now, we can drill into other aspects of this. For instance, we might want to go more elaborate into the task feature. So you have the maintenance task. It's listed here because it's associated with this asset, but if you went to the tasks themselves, then you get a list of the tasks. Here's add more RAM here. And when you get into this task management, it kind of gets interesting because it could be this simple as just a, glorified SharePoint task, start date, end date, priority, who it's assigned to, what assets it's related to. But then you can get into cost and parts and, how long did it take to repair it, who did it, what was the labor cost, what parts. You can tie the parts to a parts catalog. There's all kinds of places you can go, and that's why we're having conversations with people about their particular needs. Gives us insight into where to, what would be the most appropriate variation or implementation of this product for your particular needs. It can go a lot of different places with it. And even to the point where parts can be pulled from an inventory, and if the inventory goes below a certain threshold, there's supposed to be 25 in there, you use 5 of them, and now there's only 20, that kicks off a purchase order into our purchase order system, and then, the parts are ordered and refreshed or replenished into the system. So quite a number of ways to make variations of this program. So let's go back to the maintenance task here. There's another feature of this that is important in maintenance. It's more so probably in equipment maintenance than in IT assets, and that's the schedule of recurrence. So you have a particular kind of asset, and you have a schedule, and you have a template that recurs. So basically, what it's saying in this system, in this screen here, is that for this particular kind of asset or piece of equipment, there is a ticket or task that's regenerated every so often according to the schedule, put into this list over here, and therefore it automatically will generate the task when it needs to be generated. Change the oil, like a car, if you change the oil every so often, or redo the brakes or whatever. This case, it seems like change the toner in the printers or do printer maintenance. Whatever could apply to your particular situation would be able to be recurred, and then recurrence schedule set up, and then it would show up in the maintenance task. Whenever a task created, people could be notified that there's a new task for them. They've been assigned, and they come in here and then work on it, see it in their list, and then what assets associated with. So, it's all this kind of tie-in together of these things. Another important part of asset management is dashboards and seeing what's out there in a kind of visual way, what the meaning, by what category, what vendor, get different graphs, status, and these are very configurable according to what you need. It might be by location. Maybe you want to know all the one. Here's right here, for example, location, the Western U.S. Probably about not the best graph for that. It should be like a column graph. We have this many in the West and this many in the East. But anyways, the point is that you can configure and show these graphs in many different ways. This data that's in here can be used, the assets and equipment, to help you manage them, and how many you have in what category, what vendor, and this can also be done for tasks and tickets. So that, of course, our IT help desk system has a whole dashboard that's similar for ticketing, and the same idea could be done for tasks to know how many are overdue and how many are upcoming and that kind of thing. And this has drill down, so you can click. I believe these tasks, maybe this one doesn't, but it's supposed to have drill down where you can click it and it could show you the actual the two tablets there, or the 5 printers, or the 6 computers. I guess it's not set up to do that, but it does. Normally, it's an option in the command bar. See, if I went to the command bar and set up this graph, you can come in here and edit it, schedule it, delete it, send it as PDF, Excel, print, email, and reset some of the parameters on it. So you can have a lot of capabilities in the graphic and dashboard and reporting side of things. And I won't belabor that too much. We find dashboard and reporting works a lot more important in the ticketing systems that we have. People want to know, like, real time, how many tickets are outstanding and everything. But it does have some use in the asset program also, for sure. Contract maintenance, there's a contract management aspect of the program. This varies in importance according to your particular needs. Some people have a high need for that, some people don't. But if you do, this system really helps you keep track of what is due and what's going to come up and what assets are out, what contracts are due. So you have, I'll go enter a new one to show you what happens when you enter a new one here. So you have the title, the type of contract, it could be whatever you want to put here. Start, expiration, who's responsible. It could have cost on here, cost of renewal, link to the actual contract itself, what assets it's associated with, and so therefore it can be alerted on there. Let me show you that alerting function, since I have alluded to that a number of times. So here's your Crow Canyon Advanced Alerts. And in this alerting function, you can set up alerts on any item in any list. So in this case, it's the contract due. And I've had that set up so that there is a contract due is just a name on the list of contract management. It's looking up the date, the contract renewal date. It's looking up actually the expiration date right here, 30 days before, repeat every 10 days 2 times, and it's using the mail template of contract renewal, which is set up in the templates in here. And there's no condition set up, but you could say if the contract is active, or if the contract is such and such. You can set up conditions, and then what's going to happen is going to email it out to the people who you decide here it should be emailed to. It could be somebody on the column itself. It should be the responsible person right here. So it'd be the responsible person on that contract would get a notice 30 days before, and then repeated is that it needs to be renewed. So I'll just update that. You're supposed to have that responsible person. Then over here is the where you set up the mail templates. So you can set up a mail template for contract renewal and then have it mail that person, put various field holders from the form, the contract management form in here, name a contract, expiration date, link to contact record. So this person will get this message 30 days before, then repeat 2 times. Now, if you think about this for a bit, you can see that this alerting can be used for many, many possibilities, not just for contracts, but for a task that's overdue or an asset that has a particular, maybe has some other date due on it, or if an asset is modified or deleted. I mean, there's all kinds of possibilities with the alerting that can be used to help you manage it. So the point I'm making, and I hope I'm making it clearly, is that there are many, many ways to enhance, and that we have put in here to enhance and extend SharePoint as well as Office 365 to perform as a fully capable asset and equipment management system that can be integrated with different other systems, either external or internal. It could be a purchase order system. It could be an IT help desk. It could be a database. It could be network discovery tools like SCCM or Dell Case, as well as Landsweeper. It could be a CRM, so that whatever particular needs are out there, and they can be met. And the reason, Crow Canyon, we've done this so many times for many customers around the world that, we've had those challenges presented to us, and then we've managed to, most of the time, put them into reality by just developing something in SharePoint or manipulating it or configuring it what way. At the same time, we try and make it so that a lot of the configuration can be done with no code on your side. If it's, for instance, this asset list, we have the application administration. You can come into the configure assets, and you have a wide range of capabilities here to configure your assets how you want them. With our tabs and tabs permissions, here's your tabs. You can decide to delete a tab, add a new tab, whatever fields you want to put on that tab. Here's edit on it. You can have a mobile tab. I should point that out also, that there's a mobile, and Jeff has a screenshot of that, which is something that I will we'll do towards the end in a few minutes here, and show you that. I can't really show you the smartphone through my computer, but he can show you some screenshots we have from a smartphone. But back to the tabbing, see all these fields are listed here, what order, you can eliminate them, and really interesting, you can also start to do permissions on them too, and say this person can only see this tab, or that group can only see that tab, or whatever. Oh, I showed you the dynamic aspect of it before also, but my point here is that this configuration of this has many, many capabilities by using these tools. There's a couple other utilities here that we could go into. Now, anytime you want to do a one-on-one demo to show you this in more detail, we can certainly arrange that or answer particular questions. With a webinar, it's more general, so I may not be answering your specific question, but hopefully somewhat. Now you have your choice fields. That's standard SharePoint to decide that, but there's a number to decide what's in the drop list. But there are a number of other here. For instance, our Crow Canyon associated items capabilities, cascaded lookups that can be used to configure things in the ways I showed you earlier, where office and then room, or the asset is related to task or to a contract management. All kinds of interesting ways to make that happen. And you can simply, add a standard SharePoint column or one of our columns to your form and have it function that way. So quite a capable range of possibilities. And again, the point is trying to do as much as you can without having to code anything in here, just by using these utilities that we have here to do it. And for instance, that the tabbing, what I just showed you, also the alerting in the list itself. Let me go back to that list for a second. The print, I wanted to show you the print settings, because that's sometimes important, the printing out an asset. So you have it's coming up a little straight, but you have a print template that you can arrange and decide what fields are going to be printed on it, and then you can print out that asset or print out the list of assets. And then when you're in the assets list itself, there can be printing capabilities there. So let me go to that assets list and then here, if you're in list, there's a print up here, print, and the print manager will allow you to print out whatever template you decided. I guess there are no templates in here. That's a note to myself. In future webinars, make sure there's some print templates there. So, but anyways, please excuse that absence. But if you had a few here, you could do a list or an item template, and it would print it out nicely according to whatever template you wanted to do with particular fields you want. I think you get the idea, though, that it can be printed out to PDF or to a printer and printed out. So, you know, there's a number of capabilities like that that are quite interesting to do. And one other I wanted to show you, then I think we'll move on, is the barcoding. Barcoding comes up very, very often in our discussions, whether equipment or IT assets. So I do actually have a barcode reader right here, and I'm going to blip a barcode and read the barcode right there. And then if you search on that, it'll find that barcode in the asset list. So here's your Del Vostro with that barcode, so you can do a search by barcode. This is a feature we added where it's a variation of the list search that searches specifically on barcode, and that can be utilized in a mobile situation where you're going around with a tablet or smartphone or something using something like QR Droid or some other barcode reader, and it pops up, you know, you blip the barcode and it pops up connection to the asset, and then you can open the asset record in the mobile view, and the asset record would display on the form, and then you can take whatever actions are needed here. I believe you can, well, I'll let Jeff show the screenshots because the asset form doesn't show well. I mean, the mobile form doesn't show in the regular PC view. So anyway, I hope I covered a lot of what people are interested in finding out about assets and equipment, and we can take the question and answers coming up. Again, anytime you want to do a demo or discuss your particular needs, we love to talk about this stuff. We find it very, very interesting and fascinating of where you can go with this and how you can extend SharePoint. So if you want to have any kind of discussion with Jeff or I or one of our other people, more than happy to do that. And I think right now, Jeff, why don't we turn it over to Q&A? I don't know if you have anybody questions coming up or what, but let's see and what can do. Okay, you there, Jeff? Hello?
Yes, I am. So let me go ahead and make myself presenter here.
Did you want to ask about what version of SharePoint? Maybe we'll do a second poll.
Let's go ahead and we got another poll.
Yeah, that's just a short one. Find out.
Give you guys kind of a break from listening to us talk right now for 30 seconds. But let me go ahead and push out. This is just really is a question about what version of SharePoint are you currently running today? Now today, I think Scott mentioned earlier that we have versions for 2007, 2010, 2013, Office 365. We continue to support some of the older legacy equipment. We have a lot of government entities or agencies that are customers, and some of those are maybe slower to adopt some of the newer versions. So we do support some of the older versions as well. Now, right now, I'll go ahead and close this poll, and we'll show the results. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, kind of an even spread, huh, between the SharePoint. Yeah, that's actually what we find with our customer base pretty often. A few people still in 2007, not many, but most are 2010, 2013, and Office 365. That sounds like pretty good representation of what we run into.
All right, now let me go ahead and make myself presenter here, and then.
Yeah, let's try and answer some questions. I don't know if any came up. Let me check on that.
Yeah, I'm going to show you the mobile view here, and then, oops, just give me a second here. Unfortunately, when we log in, for some reason we came up as the same person here, so I'm not sure why that happened.
I'll take you change presenter there. Go ahead. How's that?
Okay, here we go.
Technology.
Let me go ahead and get right here and play from this current slide. So we do have, in the mobile view, let me go ahead and show you what this looks like. I think, I'll show you my other screen. And this is a screenshot from an actual mobile device. And people ask us all the time, is now mobile phones have become a business tool as people out and about, they want to know what's the mobile capabilities here. And so there is a mobile view that we can configure. It will show the asset record. Also, you can get into edit mode and open up those fields and make any changes. And that can be configured on the back end. And so, that's something you can show exactly what you want to show. You might not want to show all the data in all the tabs, and you're able to go in there and configure and select the type of fields that show up in the mobile view.
Say, Jeff, your poll's still up. You got to close the poll. I can do that for you.
It's
yeah, hide. Yeah, I'll go hide. How's that?
There we go. Now, hopefully you're seeing my screen now. And so this will give you an idea.
Actually, I still see the poll. Let me see. Let me make you presenter again and see if that makes a difference. There we go. No, it's my screen. Let's show your screen. There you go. There you go. All right, try that.
Okay, let's
show your screen now. There you go. Yeah.
Okay. So let's make sure we're on the right screen. And let's go ahead and pop those images back up. There we go.
There we go. All right. Yeah, that's right. That's good.
Okay, great. Thank you. So you can see that there's the view mode and there's an edit mode here on the mobile phone. Now, there were a couple questions that came through, and so we want to take a few minutes to jump right into some Q&A. Now, if you haven't asked any questions and you have questions, that would be really helpful if it's something you want us to address at this point. Let's go back and there was one question that came through about the tabbing. And so we showed the tabbing functionality, but how is the data arranged in the back end? Is it multiple lists, just one? I'm not sure if that was answered in the demonstration of our forms manager but maybe Scott, you can talk a little bit about that, because there's several fields or different information that we present within those tabbings that are actually list items as we present those list items in the actual tabbing. But maybe Scott, you can talk about that a little bit in terms of the architecture of the forms and where some of that data is comes from on the back end. Let me address that, since I'm not sure what's happening with the sound here. Hopefully
I'm here. I'm here again. Sorry about that. The forms pull their information from the list that's behind the list and the form are tied together. So the form of the list manager, the forms that I was showing you, the forms manager with all the tabs is pulling data from the list. Now the list is kind of interesting because it has columns in it that are associated with other lists. So it's kind of like it shows it in the tab as a column that's in that form, and it is a column in the form, but the column is actually pulling information from some other list, either in the same site or a different site collection. If it's a hyperlink, well, the hyperlink shows, when you click it, it pulls the information from a database that you have it set up to go. For instance, we wrote a web interface to SCCM, so when you click the SCCM link in our system, it will go out, do a SQL query to ask the CCM for that particular information about that asset, and display it in a page that we wrote that displays the data in a way that's presentable, rather than opening up the CCM database and trying to display that in a browser. It does it by taking the information out and putting it. So the form, yes, it gets the information, the columns from the list itself, but those lists have ways of gathering data from other sources and putting them into the presentation that is there when the person's looking at the form. So I hope that kind of addresses your question well enough.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. So there's a few other questions here that we'll try to get through, and one is a great question. This is a common question that we have, and the question is, how many assets can this handle? And then the explanation here to the question was that we've run into record item limit issues in SharePoint, at which point filtering and view issues occur. Maybe Scott, you can address, so we have well, first of all, maybe I'll start this off, is that, we know that there are some limitations within SharePoint in terms of the list items, the view, but we also have some other solutions in terms of leveraging SQL as a back-end database for the storage of those records as well. But Scott, why don't you go ahead and handle that question in terms of the limitations within just SharePoint itself out of the box, and then what the solutions that we have around resolving.
There are some limitations in the sense of the list view threshold is what most people are referring to when they're talking about limitations. But there's ways around that, such as depends what views and what ways you filter the list and those kind of things. Also, there is the ability to tie to a SQL backend for larger amounts of assets, where the SharePoint system more or less becomes the front end for what's being done in the SQL backend for that. So there's that. And we can go into more detail on that if you want to talk to us. I mean, we'll take actually anybody's questions. Just email Jeff or I, or sales@crowcanyon.com, and we'll take them definitely dive into more detail. But hopefully that's enough for at least to cover the basics there.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Scott. Another great question. Now, there are some different platforms that we're supporting today in the different versions of SharePoint as well as O365. So the question is, are there any functionality limitations with O365 compared to the SharePoint 2013 version?
Well, not really. I mean, we were able to write stuff in O365. Now we're really plowing new ground with Office 365 and developing, it's a very active development part of our group. And so I would say most of the functionality, I wouldn't claim that all of the functionality that's on premises is available in Office 365 right now, but we're getting close to parity on that. And I would say that a good part of what we showed you here is applicable in our Office 365 application also. We have in the Office 365 currently, we have the IT help desk and the assets pretty much integrated with each other. We may be separating them out in the future. Depends what our customers want and what they're trying to do up there. It's an interesting question. We'd love to have that conversation with people, how they're looking to use Office 365 in an asset management perspective, equipment management perspective. So we want to explore that, and we'll adapt according to what the customers seem to need and want in Office 365, whether they're going to keep do a hybrid and keep part of it on premises, and that's going to do the heavy lifting of asset management, or whether they want asset management up in the cloud. I mean, there's a lot of capabilities there, and we'll try. Our goals is parity or better, between Office 365 and SharePoint on premises.
Great, thanks, Scott. So there are two other questions that I'm going to bundle together because they're really around licensing and pricing. And then we'll finish up on this, so let me go ahead and talk through that just a bit to give everyone an idea of how we license and then price our solution. So this is a single purchase perpetual license model. You buy it, you own it. And then in terms of packaging the solutions, is we do have a pricing section on our website. We've built plans that have a plan comparison chart on there that specifically talk about the features that are included in each one of those plans. And the features really are come in form of modules. So the solution is very modular. So we also, as an organization, understands that a lot of times there's a need for flexibility. We do have the opportunity to provide you a product that allows you to grow. So you can start with a product that might be on a lower package or lower plan, and then add the actual features in form of modules moving forward. So you can go and take a look at the pricing and plans page on our website, but you can certainly reach out to us directly at sales@crowcanyon.com or just call us, and we'd be happy to talk you through something that, a package that might best fit your particular needs. Now, we also, before we take off here, is providing
one second, Jeff. Someone was asking about contracting for custom ongoing support and enhancements. Yes, we definitely do that. We have a lot of custom projects that we do, and a lot of times asset tracking and equipment, as well as IT help desk and customer support, do turn into more custom development, because we really want the program to meet the specific needs of a customer, and not just, here's your program and make your processes and needs adapt to it. So with the flexibility of SharePoint and the configurability, yes, we do a lot of adapting and, munging and molding and tweaking the application to fit, and we have ongoing custom development and support for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, so typically, how that works, a lot of times as customers come to us, either right out of the gate, they have specific needs and requirements that we'll define, or we'll help them define, or maybe they have defined already, and we will leverage our solution as the platform or the foundation, and then we'll build from there. And so this actually helps our customers go live much quicker than it would be for them to do to develop this from scratch. And so we do, a good portion of our business is in this ongoing support and enhancement of custom work moving forward. So we'd be happy to talk to you about that as well, and we show you, maybe even show you some examples if you wanted to reach out directly, some examples of what we've done in terms of feature enhancements for specific use cases with customers.
Yeah.
We will be attending some events coming up, so if you're in any of these areas, we pretty much show up at all of the SP Fest events, the SP TechCon events as well, as bigger and more major events, but also many of the SharePoint Saturdays around North America will be there as well. So please feel free to come visit us at our booth and talk to us more about what we're doing.
One comment here, Jeff. Twitter is actually Crow Canyon SW. Make sure you add the SW after Crow Canyon.
So Crow Canyon SW. Okay, thanks for making that clear.
There's so many people that go to our own Twitter site.
Our Twitter folks out there, but so anyways, I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your day to join us. Hopefully this was helpful and educational. So this will wrap up the webinar for today. We will be sending you out a follow-up. We also will make this recording available on the website as well, so we'll let you know where this link is if you want to go back and review it or forward it on to a colleague. Again, thanks so much for joining, and this ends our webinar. Thanks so much.